Day 10. Substack Publication. I've had so many conversations that touched my heart since my first post, and I am beyond grateful for every single one. But there was one that had me almost in tears reading through literally every reply. This was after being asked 3 questions that I just don't have a short answer for. Thank you for understanding. With that being said, I'm going to do my best to answer, but just like my brother's question, I can't make any promises that it will be in one post. So, here we go. When I was a kid, I loved watching movies. I also watched a lot with my dad. It didn't matter what we watched, from family movies to kid movies, movies about cars, and even movies about history. My dad used to always ask me what I got from it after it was over. Not the details, but what did I learn from them? What did I get from in between the spoken words? But I never understood why, nor did I ask. I actually found it to be fun. Plus, I just always assumed it was a way for me to learn, to pay attention, and observe my surroundings. I got fussed at a lot because I daydreamed a lot. Even at a young age, I would be lost in my thoughts. This caused me to almost run into the street, and my dad had to run to grab me, or I would get tired of standing waiting, and I'd just walk off on both of my parents, scaring them half to death. But after my therapist taught me to combat my thoughts and went through every piece of my life with me, I was able to see things differently. As I learned to do this, I began to see how many times I had been saved, how many times I had been so close to my last days but somehow overcoming them all, from 5 tumors at the age of 9. Being resuscitated by the age of 11 and being out for 7 days, memory loss soon following $100,000 worth of facial reconstructive surgery, a medical condition with no true diagnosis even after many tests and multiple doctors, and a mental breakdown that felt like it was going to take me out for good. To name a few, yet somehow I was still here, and I was learning how to not just survive, she was teaching me how to live. She taught me how to be happy without needing to force it. I knew God, or at least I thought I did, and I had read the children's Bible on many occasions as a kid, but that was about it. So, as I continued to focus on combating literally every single negative thought with a positive one, I began to watch movies about the Bible. Trying to read it was just too difficult. As I did, I began to slowly do the same thing I did as a kid. I watched them closely, and I did my best to connect to every character, and I began to notice connections. I had always heard that there's nothing new under the sun, and that we can learn from history, but I never connected the two. This is how I learned to reflect with grace. It began the process of me truly healing even deeper, and that led to forgiving in ways I couldn't have imagined. This is what led me to hike to the top of a mountain. When my therapist suggested free activities, I wanted to see if it would help me connect deeper with why Jesus did it so much. And so that's what I did, and I called it my spiritual journey. I had never hiked before, and honestly, I felt lost from the drive there and every step I took along the way. And even with that being the case, I felt so at peace, with a feeling like I was almost one with nature. Mind you, I was completely out of breath and walking 10 times slower than my normal pace. But on the inside, I felt like I was crying tears of joy, something I hadn't felt without some sort of accomplishment tied to it, and all before I ever made it to the summit. Once I got up there, I felt so accomplished. I didn't want to be around anyone, so I found myself a little space that was secluded from where everyone else was. I couldn't even take in the beauty of all at first, from the blurriness of my tears of joy that I could no longer hold as they began to just pour out. And in that moment, I knew I had not only started to change, but that my transformation was on the way. When I began to realize what a parable was, and that my dad had been teaching me to read between the lines since I was young, and I finally started to understand why so many people who heard pieces of my story say that I had a testimony, and how becoming an author was connected. But writing a self-help book, this wasn't something I saw myself doing. This is what pushed me to truly put my all into becoming the best version of myself as I learned how to become an author, so I could tell my story as parables. I didn't know Lost but Not Left was going to be my first book. I thought it was going to be my autobiography. I promise the answers to your questions are on the way. Stay tuned. If you like this, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Come join the community. Until next time, Reflection with Grace can help you see things in ways you could have never imagined. At one point, I looked back at the child, me, and I cried for him. Now, thank you, Just reading this means the world to me, and I can begin to find the words that truly express just how deeply I am touched by everyone that does so. With all love, John L. Newman.